What is this? Well, there are a few questions we want answered. I don't have to answer anything.
In ArtPrize, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And may I ask you folks, what are your names?
Well, my name is Delora Buford-Buchanan, and this is my daughter, Jacobee. Go ahead, say your name, Jacobee.
Pleased to meet you folks. Where are you from?
We're from Dayton area, from Fairborn, Ohio.
Very cool. And what do you call this?
It's called Out of the Bag. Everything, there's 2 rooms of sculpture, there's abstract pieces all made out of paper bags, there's cardboard, yardsticks, anything like found objects that we can kind of get our hands on.
And how did you dream up this idea?
Well, years ago I just thought, how many things could I do out of a paper bag? And then I just went with it, from fish to turtles. And then my daughter and I started doing dolls, and then I would transfer them into realistic people like her. I mean, we would go and sell our dolls. And I started to abstract them. And so when she came back home from college and then moved in from New York, she said, oh, why don't we try ArtPrize, because I had talked to her about it. And so here we are. And she coordinated it.
Very cool. And what do you do?
I'm an art teacher, and I got my 20-year pin just 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations. And what about you, Jacobee?
Well, it's funny. I studied dance for about 20 years, and then I moved to New York City and started doing pretty much everything but that. I do costumes now, and I'm working on possibly going back to school for theater design. And so this has been sort of me kind of transitioning into more of like the artsy side of things.
Very cool. And now I like, my website is called weirdreview.com, the Weird Review, and I like to end my interviews with asking my interviewees, tell me something weird and wonderful about yourselves. Can you tell me, gotten any interesting anecdotes or...
Well, this is something about, that's through bags too. Jacobee and I used to spend Friday nights watching B-movies, the movies where they have a little oddness to them, like, you know, the claw is a glove and so you can see the skin. So one night we were watching a movie that had to do with a mad doctor who had accidentally run off the hill and ruined his wife, and he only saved her head so he could make the rest of her
Oh my.
back. And so when we saw these hands in his laboratory just on the wall doing things and moving, that night I said, okay, Jacobee, we'll make hands. And so I had a bag and I started to make it, and it turned out so well. She started making bags and I started making bags, and we hung them up on the banister. So when my husband came home from work, we were laying on the floor and we had like 15, 16 hands just hanging there.
Have you ever heard of Lloyd Kaufman or Trauma Entertainment?
Wait, no.
The Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High?
Okay,
The
okay.
one where the people are in the spaceship or it looks like a duck, that kind of thing. That's what we
Well, it sounds like you'd probably like his movies, and he's out in New York City too, so.
Wait, say that again. It's-
Lloyd Kaufman, Toxic Avenger. You've never
I've
heard
heard
of...
of Toxic Avenger.
Well, yeah, I'd hope so. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like just up your alley, you know? Disembodied hands hanging from your ceiling and such.
I did a display, and then I put the head. They had the head in the story in a Pyrex plate,
Uh-huh.
and then there was like, remember little steam things that coming out of the head.
Yeah.
And Jacobee was saying that can't be possible. You know, her vocal cords were cut off from here, and then you're just like,
Well, he kept basically murdering people to try to find parts that he could put her back together. And so eventually she got fed up with this and started screaming at him, like, why don't you let me die? And I'm thinking, how is she screaming? And she doesn't even have lungs.
sometimes he wouldn't listen. He just put the cake lid back over her head, and she would just be looking at him. So we got a kick out of it.
In the end, he's got all these parts kind of hanging, and she somehow also develops the ability to talk and develops telekinesis. And she instructs
Well, that's convenient.
body parts to, you know, take him out, essentially, because he's gone too far. And so these hands are flying off the wall, and they're like killing him, and of course a fire starts. And yeah, so we kind of, I guess, rebuilt that set in our
It's called The
house.
Brain That Wouldn't Die. Yeah,
Awesome.
1953, I think. Maybe.
I don't know the director. That's probably what they call it.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much, ladies. And what is your ArtPrize number?
55063.
55063. And you are, again?
Out of the bag.
Out of the bag. Very awesome. And do you have anything you'd like to add before we close? Websites or anything?
Well, I'm building websites for both of us. Hers is already up. It's Delora, Buford-Buchanan.com. Mine is JacobeeRoseBuchanan.com, and it's going to focus mostly on my costume work, and it's currently being built. So
Very cool. Do you ever cosplay?
I do.
What do you cosplay?
I am very much into the kind of like steampunk world.
Absolutely.
I've done a lot of just kind of like random things, like commission pieces for people. But in New York, they have two parades that I go to every year: the Halloween parade and the Mermaid Parade, which is the like kickoff for summer.
Uh-huh.
So at least twice a year, I get a chance to like go full out, do a costume. I actually just went back up to the city and spent about 2 months like beading and making, you know, corset making, and I did a wig, and I always have a
Very
time.
cool.
when I miss her, I would go to the computer and look up Mermaid Parade, and in those crowds and seas of people, I can see my child walking
Awesome.
in a corset, all decked out and beautifully done.
So, do you have any favorite steampunk bands?
Do you know, it's funny. I don't know if they are really considered steampunk, but usually I like to listen to music when I create a lot, and I end up listening to like Dresden Dolls or like Rasputina. Sort of, I think they're favorites of people who are into that. But I don't know if I have any favorite like bands that call themselves steampunk. There's a
What
group
about
called
French?
Riot. I think it's spelled without the U.
Okay.
And I recently got to meet them at a convention, and they were really cool.
Have you ever heard Frenchie and the Punk?
Frenchie and the Punk, they were there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love them.
Ever hear, Steam Powered Giraffe?
I've heard of Steam Power Girl.
You've never heard them?
Do they have they might have a new CD out that I...
Yeah, they're just coming out with one, from what I heard. What about Avenue Park?
Of course, yeah, everybody.
They'll be glad to hear that.
Yeah, they're like, I know, they're like the band, like everybody. I almost didn't say that because I knew everybody would think.
It's like everybody knows Avenue Park.
But yeah.
Totally awesome. Well, thank you so much. And from Grand Rapids, Michigan, what is this building?
It's Boardwalk GR Condominiums.
Boardwalk GR Condominiums on Monroe.
940 Monroe Avenue.
Thank you very much. And from 940 Monroe Avenue, this has been the Weird Review. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.